Okay, just thought I'd do a little catching up here on Neverwinter. We've gotten into what is mod 16B, but they're not calling it 16B. They don't want to do that anymore. They're going to call it 17, even though all it is really some more quests. You can get companion gear that makes you worthy enough, if you're in game, to be able to play in the final dungeon that they've created that is just about impossible. But yet the groups are trying to be so elite they almost won't let anybody in, and there's so few of them it's hard to even get into one and get used to it. It's one of those things where there's a lot of different mechanics to it, and so you have to know the mechanics, and it's almost not about gear score. It comes down to it in a few points and making sure that you have your stats at certain caps. And so we look at here at me, and I've changed a lot of things. Even took off my chest piece and went back to the feet. There is a chest piece you can get where you slowly develop power, and that's supposed to be the best one right now. I'm going with one that gives you extra power and defense and hit points right now because of its help. And I'm at 328,000 hit points. I could be at 342, but I'd be taking off other stats. Through a long congregation of talking to a bunch of people who deem to be experts about the game, I've gotten my stats over here equal to about this, where I'm not eating a potion or anything right now, so just dead standard, I'm 160k power. Whenever I full eat a potion, everything gets at a 174 with the sorbet and so on. My armor penetration is over, but that's what I'll show you in a minute, is because of a companion gear situation. Defense is over 80 at 81, crit strike 2, and very similar to each other. Crit avoidance is down, but you've got to max your offensive stats to be offense and then try to get as much defense as possible, but have defense too. And you want deflect if you can, or crit avoidance. And I've got accuracy at 75,000. It isn't pegging to 80 number. If I could literally get the other part that doesn't have so much armor pin on it and more accuracy, I would literally be just pegging all the numbers pretty well on it. My combat advantage is only at 120, but there's another piece I can get that would take me back up. Right now I could put myself at 131, but then well, due to the rings and stuff that I have, the setup would put me at higher accuracy, put me right at 78. Oh boy. But then my crit strike actually ends up showing up low, just a hair, because of the flop of the rings that I have. There are rings that have 7,000 and 4,000, and you need one in the right place. I have the armor penetration versus the combat advantage in the wrong place. But it's not on just one ring, it's through two different rings. For I've got a whole bunch of them, but just don't have the one that I need. And so we can see that. Crit severity is coming into play because now the new Vorpal has been deflated quite a bit, and its amount of crit severity has been knocked down to where if you have it maxed out now, it's at 20%. So crit severity comes into play somewhat, quite a bit, and people are even willing to give up some power for crit severity. At a certain point, that becomes extremely viable too. I haven't done it at that point, but I do have the Stalwart on for extra hit points here, and not the other companion bonus version of it. Still running the Screech, or the Griffin, for its debuff. And here's what I've had to run. I end up having a defense combat advantage, but it's only blue, and it only has one offense. So there goes some of my power. If I get the other two back, I will be back at 170, standing 180 above. And all it takes is one of two different, really three different artifacts, because I have other ones. I'm also having to use this old choke chain or whatever, so I get accuracy and combat advantage, and that's the reason my combat advantage is low. If I had the 7,000 version of it, it would be up quite a lot better. And I've got this nickel icon of the companion giving me armor pin crit strike. Notice how it's giving me 7,000 armor pin. I could easily do that with the other one, having it a 4,000 armor pin. It wouldn't be over anymore. And if I could twist that with the two rings with combat advantage, even this 882 or the double offense version of this in combat, it would take me back to that. So let's just pray real quick and go through our little dailies that we have here. This is Stardock, and you go from Stardock to different places. You get 2 choices, but you have to do both, really, basically, each day. And after 2 runs, you'll get to do an extra run. After 2 sets of those 2 runs, if I'm understanding it correctly, then you get to do the final FE series. All of the WEs and the FEs of the series give you a chance to get some more of this companion gear. And meanwhile, I'm just one-shotting just about everything, basically, now. Oh, this guy here. La la la. Pick it up, it's refinement, although I've got oodles now. It's really more about trying to build up your AD, and that's fairly easy to do too by doing these runs and getting their coins, or the thing that they give you as a rune type coin, and going back with them. But then also running your dailies, which have changed too, and it's pretty easy to get your 100K, but you have to play the game, and that's what they really wanted it to be in the first place, that you couldn't just, back in the day there was a way that you could, I don't see one of the sparkle boxes, so I continue. Back in the day there was a way that you could tray a bunch and actually make money over time without playing the game. And of course you could even do a stock market type thing with the sales, and that still really kind of goes on to this day, but they want to minimize that as much as possible. One shot. Yeah, some of these are quite devastating because I'm so OP for the area, but again, there's the fact that all I really needed was 70K or 68 or 58 or 68 to get your crit up to right before this last mod. The only reason you're going for the 80 number in any way too is to go for this new dungeon that they have set up, which is Tomb of the Mad Mage, as opposed to Lair of the Mad Mage, which we already have been playing like crazy. And so you got to pick up 6 of these sparkle boxes and have killed 30 people in the area that are the Illithid race, not the other ones that would have normally been here. So they're usually mixed in fighting the other guys, and occasionally you find groups of them that are around. But there should be a couple of sparkle boxes in here. Yep, there's one. And I'll go ahead and get it. Every time you open one of these, in comes a group that you have to fight. Hopefully you pick up the sparkle box before it does so, but usually they tag you right at 90%. And so you still have to open it up later. And of course they're just close enough to get aggro on me. Those aren't part of the group, but I still have to take care of them because there's the box. Oh, he's one of the elite guards. He actually does a little bit of damage and has a little bit of hit points on him. Okay, now I got a group incoming. I try to delay it and see if I can get the box, and no, I couldn't get the box. So I'll get it again. Anyhow, the new dungeon can be quite complicated, but really it's fairly easy mechanics, and it really requires your tanks, 2 of which, to go back and forth trading on who's taking the damage right now. After like 2 stacks, it seems, is the best. And with doing it that way, you can control, and you try to get everybody healthy, all the way full, nobody went down, into the second area where he starts to crush you, and it looks like some type of snow globe that you're in, basically, or a crystal ball, and he's trying to crush you, and you have to kill him before he does. And then you get on to part 3, and really the whole mode here is to be clean and safe, make it all the way through to part 3, because in part 3 you have to get all the way through a series of things that are just like part 1, but even a little worse. So they've given you a little bit of heads up about it, basically, and so everybody has to be on point, and so you pretty much got to be good at part A to get into part B, and then after you made it to part B, you get into part C, and in part C they double up on it of what was in part A, effectively, if you follow me. And then there's another DPS check. See, that's supposed to be one of those. Oh, I get to return to Stardock. But instead of returning to Stardock, let's just use my signposts. And I go to Yawning Portal, Uprising, and Wells End, and I go to the next one. Okay. Now in this one, if you look in the top right hand corner, it says 0 of 3. So instead of fighting or finding 6 boxes, you fight 3 major bosses, and it really pretty much the fairy dust leads you right to them. But there are a couple of differences. Let's go ahead and get these out of the way. Wow, it keeps doing that. Notice how it didn't hit on my damage. If you come in just wrong with it on that one power that I use, which is the sweeping blades, it doesn't activate. I'm rather concerned about that. But when it activates, they all go bye-bye. With the way I've got everything set up. So I have to make it through here, and really, I'm just killing 30 extras on the way to killing this champion that you see right there. Right? So I want to get the other guys out of the way real quick, and what's amazing is if I get them out of the way by drawing their aggro, I can do it without the champion even doing anything. I can wait till my stuff gets reloaded. Whoops, drew aggro. By stepping back too far. But I can wait till my stuff builds back up, even put on a little debuff right there that'll last 30 seconds. Wait till the last couple and come on with it. Miss me. Miss me again. It doesn't always work out. In fact, if he knocks you down, then he gets on top of you, and sometimes he hits you a couple of times in a row because you'll stay down for enough time. Here's another champ. I take out the others. Him. Oh, see, it stunned me. Don't let him get this one on me. And you're gone, bud. Oh, he did hit me. Well, here, I hit you back. And the third guy, but see, I've only hit 17 out of 30, so it's going to be a real good idea for me to grab a couple of these guys on the way out. Now that's 22. Here's another group. Doohickey to you. And there's 27 out of 30. He's going to have 3 with him for sure, and we're there. So I had that thing with it deactivated right whenever I got there. Howdy. See if this will activate now. And I'll go back to the Stardock and cash it in. Let's see if I get my daily WEs. And I might do a separate video on those. How it's just getting to? It's 15 minutes. Not so bad. Start off, oh, we finally go in space. Looking down on creation there up on an asteroid that we're going in the caves of and tubes of an asteroid. Inside a little picture, a piece of lava rock, gigantic. That's what we're in. Okay, so I turn these in, which my inventory may be full of crap. Yep, I've got 2 Warden expeditions. Find somebody. And get them to invite me. So you get your dailies from him. There's 2 of them. You queue into it from there. The conflict map right here. But whenever you start to do these, the Warden expeditions, or if you get the other ones, then you actually go with groups. It's better. And so I'm going to switch to his instance. I still got to wait 20 seconds to do it. And so guys, I'm going to make this part 2 one where I show to go through WEs. And I'll put it out at the same time so you can see that also. Look for it in the top left hand corner whenever you're watching this video at the very end right here. Peace.